Everybody. Okay, so I'd like to just start off saying that I would love to acknowledge the 12 slaves that built Cape Town because it's my responsibility to manifest their dreams now and their wishes because they weren't able to, because their dreams were crushed by um, apartheid and by the slavery. So yeah, I just like to acknowledge them and be like, this is for the girls. So yeah. Um, okay. Um, Hello everybody. My name is Queezy. Um, I am. I was born in 1992 in Cape Town. I'm a multidisciplinary artist. I'm bridging the intersections of fine art, fashion, and performance, from printmaking and videography to drag performances and DJ sets. Um, I create immersive worlds where fantasy meets radical subversion of the status quo. Um, at once theatrical and personal, my work unbends and expands what it means to be queer and colored in South Africa. Subverting constructions of masculinity, sexuality, and corporeality. Salient themes of gender norms and identity politics are met with craftsmanship and authenticity, generating artworks which are as aesthetically engaging as they are socially engaged. Ultimately, I aim to create interactive experiences where normativity gives way to spaces for protest, empowerment, and celebration. I attended the Belgravia Art School in East London, where I was trained in pottery, painting, sculpture, and graphic design. And after high school, I went to Cape Peninsula University of Technology, where I was awarded a BTech in fashion design with a distinction in specialized clothing technology. Um, I've created performances with Gallery Momo, World Art Gallery, Goodman Gallery, Zeitz, Mocha, and Norval. And my work's been featured in ID Magazine, New York Times, Natal Paper Magazine, and Vogue Italia, among other publications. I've also performed with artists such as MIA, Slow Tie, and Angel Ho, to name a few. And recently, um, the University of Cape Town has acquired my work, Tandi, which is a digital collage, for their permanent archive, which is showcased in the Bremner building foyer. So I'm going to share my screen now, and hopefully it comes through. Uh, okay. Okay, I'll be with you now. Just zoom. Okay. Later. Okay, I think it should be able to record the screen now. Oh, you can see my screen. Okay, there we go. Okay, amazing. So I grew up in East London, Eastern Cape. I was born in Cape Town, grew up in East London, Eastern Cape, and I, was sort of gendered a boy, and went to like a co-ed primary school and high school. But for most of my years, I had to, the only way I could express myself was through being gendered as a boy. And this was very jarring for me because that's not how I felt at all on the inside. I definitely felt more feminine, but I didn't know the words, I didn't have the context, I didn't have the resources or the tools to have a reference for this. So that was very difficult growing up. And um, there would be like small moments in my life growing up where like I got to experience these things, like seeing RuPaul for the first time and seeing just things on TV where there would be like a transgender character. It would just be that little window for me where I knew that I wasn't alone and I knew that I wasn't different.
I'm so sorry, Quade. We can't see your presentation.
Oh snap! Okay. And now?
Now we can see it. Yes, perfect.
Okay.
Thank you so
Oh
much.
yes. Okay. Cool. Okay, there we go. Okay. Yes. So this was Baby Quade. This was me growing up. This is how I dressed. And yeah, so like I said before, this was the gender that was sort of like bestowed onto me. You know, I didn't have a choice. Obviously, I didn't have the words or the tools to express that. So that was me when I was little, cute at the harbor. But as I grew up, I sort of like, I just had this innate feeling inside me that I knew that I wanted to express myself in this feminine form, in this way. So in grade 7, I was offered the role to act as Paris Hilton in a school play. And I was terrified because in primary school, as a boy, to act as a girl, which is like unheard of, firstly, like ever, and also in East London. Um, I was like, okay, I'm gonna do it, but I'm nervous, and I just thought everyone was gonna judge me, and I just like, I freaked out a bit. But I had an amazing drama teacher, and she said that you can totally do it, and you have it in you to express yourself and be Paris Hilton. So at the time, I was obsessed with Paris Hilton. She didn't know that. And this was like this perfect opportunity that I could, oh my God, I could be like my femme self. I could be like this expression that I've always wanted to. So my mom got me the dress. My mom got me my mom was very supportive, which was, I think, the most important part about this whole thing is that I did have a support system. And my mom was like, she was still coming to terms with me first being queer and identifying as gay, but then wanting to try this role out. So got the wig, acted as Paris Hilton, and it was a total hit. And in that moment, I knew that like I had something special, and then I knew that I wanted to like really go for it. I wanted to like expand on it. I want to, you know, see more fashion, try new fashion, put on more wigs. I wanted to because I felt like this was my truest form. So yeah, I'm so happy I got that opportunity. And then when I was in high school, I sort of dabbled around a bit more with identity and fashion because in East London it was very tricky to like navigate identity. I would go to school, so you would go to school and then there would be like nothing really to do after school. So like your school uniform was kind of your identity in a way. And I wanted to break away with this. So I developed a character, Edna DeVol, and just because I love like I don't know Granny's name is Edna and then DeVol is Cruella DeVol because she really inspired me because she loved fashion and so did I. So this was one way of me expressing that, and I got my friends to take photos. So this was sort of like the beginning of me like sort of turning into Queezy and who I am today. So in my fourth year of fashion design at CPUT, for my dissertation, I looked at hypermasculinity and gay drag queens to break the gendered mold in fashion. So yeah, in that year, I sort of, instead of me like, I was researching like other forms of like gender and of course, but I want to do sort of like push myself out of my personal comfort zone and then start collaging different gender symbols on my body. And I made little like films about them for my dissertation. And this is sort of like the lineup of the collection, is the illustrated version of it. And this is part of the collection. This was like the sort of the lookbook, like the campaign that we had to do. And I wanted to sort of like take away like a lot with gender has to do with like that defines gender is a lot to do with like hair, makeup, and accessories. So I wanted to sort of like remove that and like make the model's skin um, like plastic bags and then put clothes on top of it to kind of create like this, to distort that like identity that we know, like the sort of like created identity that we know as a man and woman, to sort of jar you a bit with like what is the identity of the figure and what is the identity of the clothing. So in that way, I experimented with it. And then at the end of the year, we all had to present our collections, and there were protests at the time, and my classmates wanted to wait till the end of the year to plan the exhibition. I was like, oh no, I have a feeling that we won't be able to exhibit the work. So I hit up Gallery Momo. And this is when I was like, I want to be an artist. And I asked them if I could show my collection through a performance. So for the performance, I created this kind of like surreal boxing rink where like a normal boxing rink would have like ropes going on all fours. And then mine sort of intersected, sort of creating like this like play station kind of like workout setting. Then I had 10 looks and 10 workout stations where each look was packed onto each station, and I would work out and then I'd put the garment on and I'd walk around, as you can see in the image on your left where I'm wearing the pink dress, and I would like do a lap around, run around, and then I'd continue doing the work. And that was my way of like demonstrating like the spectrum of like hyper masculinity and gay drag queens, you know, and sort of like pushing this idea of like this performative identity that we all do, you know. Um, so yeah, and then this was a project that I did with Jade Brand, which was shown at Foundation Louis Vuitton. And Jody hit me up and she was like, hey, would you like to do this project with me? It's going to Paris. And then this was at the start of me like developing like my Queezy identity, my Queezy performance. That is an extension of my identity. It's a way for me to um, show a side of myself that I wish I could do more, and other people wish they could do more, you know? So yeah, so we did this project, we shot it at Oma Stone's museum. And it was super great. And this is the work shown at Novel. Um, and and the work's also to empower like women of color. It's to show this like to put women of color in a position where they, like in the Spring Queens, it's that moment of glamour. It's that moment of like not, your identity is not just being in labor, but it's also like, you know, you have this, you're not just that, you're more than that. And that's why like I try to perform as much, because that means that I get closer to seeing that vision come true. And then other people also get to experience it by me going through these institutions. I get to open the gate for them. Um, so yeah, so I wanted to also talk about in reality, like my personal reality. I've been working in corporate since I finished varsity because I had to support myself. I didn't have a background of wealth. You know, my parents weren't able to fund my living. They weren't able to, you know, support my life. So I had to get a job. And when I started working in this first particular corporate company, I started like experimenting with my identity. I sort of took Queezy to the office, and I wanted to feel like it could be accepted, and it definitely was. And I was told that I had to like change my clothes. I was told to like, you know, like mute myself, like kind of like not really show my identity. And that was really awful. So the only space that I could really do this was through DJing and performing outside of that. So for a while I was performing at galleries and I felt that I wasn't reaching the people that I needed to. And I was like, what way can I reach mass audiences? What way can I reach mass people and different kinds of people, especially people that identify as heteronormative? Um, how can I show them I first experience a queer person, see one in person, and then and go beyond this like divide between the two, between the LGBT community and heteronormative people, cishet people. So I decided I was going to DJ because music is the one thing that goes beyond our subconscious and is something that can connect people. So I thought, let me dress all the way up, go to the club, DJ, and usually when I get to these clubs, there's first like an uncomfortability with my presence, because they maybe have an experienced queer person or whatever, or they may have like some internal homophobia. There's like a lot of factors in play. But then I'll start playing the music, and as soon as I'm done, I sort of got to engage with those people, and they would come up to me and be like, "Oh my word, that was amazing," or and then I feel like in that way my job was done. I got to like connect with people, I got to like embrace people, I got to show them like who I am, and sort of like open people's eyes to like the larger world out there. So these two pictures is sort of like, me trying to express myself and then me getting to express myself freely in public, which is really great. Um, this was one of my first like sculptural exhibitions I had at Gallery Momo, where I sort of like took the idea of like dolls. Like I grew up playing with dolls, and but they were always like these perfect idealistic versions of women, and I wanted to sort of like play on that, because a lot of times queer people aren't sort of grouped in that. They were sort of seen as outcasts, they're sort of seen as ugly, they are shamed for not being fully feminized. So I sort of wanted to like embody it, by going to the exhibition dressed up in my femme self, and then also like creating these dolls that like kind of look not typically beautiful, but I wanted to like show like other forms of beauty. Um, so this was a project because I love fashion. I sort of love collaborating with other artists in fashion. So I got Sandrine and Chadley, and I said, come over to my place and let's just like, I have a whole bunch of fabric and makeup. Let's just sort of start creating archives of like photography, whether it gets onto a magazine or not. It's still important to create these archives of fashion for future kids to come. And luckily, Helen Jennings, I forwarded these images to her, and it was featured in a tile. But these images are so important because without these archives, without these moments, we get to like live in these images. Without them, we have nothing. We don't have no reference for people um, that are coming and the kids are coming. So these are the images, and we just wanted to be completely experimental. We shot at the engine garage in Sea Point, but we still try to reference like these images that we've seen in Vogue, but try to make it out of nothing, because that's oftentimes in South Africa, a lot of kids don't have resources. But I just wanted to prove that like you could literally take and shoot anywhere and you could make something beautiful. Um, this is an example of the costume design I did for Faka, Fela Gucci and Desire, where we got like a whole bunch, Jabu Newman and Lavuyo got a whole bunch of queer people, artists, models, singers, personalities to be in the music video, and I did the costume design for it. But
Queezy, can I interrupt you? I'm so sorry. We just run
sure.
really over time, and I was hoping we could still have panel discussion.
Okay.
So would you mind maybe if we, you know, we can maybe go into the discussion with all the panelists? Is that okay?
Of course, yeah, that's fine. I'll share the presentation with everybody.
Oh, that would be so lovely.
And if we can have a discussion afterwards. But yeah, that's me in a nutshell.
Thank you, Queezy, and thank you for sharing such personal information, and it's been wonderful to watch all of these events.